until a year ago, everyone was in love with me.
Everyone?
It was all so wonderful. Then everything changed.
A new animated film revisits the world's most famous young diarist and a haunting photography exhibition here in France. That's coming up in today's show as the UN marks the International Day to commemorate victims of genocide. First, his animated documentary, Waltz with Bashir, broke new ground for cinema in 2008, recounting a very personal experience of the Lebanese civil war. Ari Folman's now back with the feature Where is Anne Frank? In it, the Israeli filmmaker explores the identity and the legacy of the young woman who's become a historical touchstone. I got the chance to sit down with Ari at the Cannes Film Festival this summer as the movie made its debut. Ari Folman, hello, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Now, your film focuses on a young woman who is a universal reference, Anne Frank, and you ask, where is Anne Frank? But I'd like to start by asking you, to us, in 2021, who is Anne Frank?
Anne Frank is the second biggest icon coming out of World War II. According to what I read with some brilliant historians, if you take a boy or a girl anywhere and ask them, okay, name two names, two words that you know in regards to World War II. The first one will be Hitler, and the second one will be Anne Frank. She's a girl in captivity who was hiding in a secret apartment. She wrote an incredible, splendid, unbelievable, artistic-wise diary, and she died. And she stopped writing. Most people will not know how she died, what happened to her, if she was Jewish or not. I mean, it was not mentioned in the Anne Frank house until, 10 years ago that she was even Jewish. So this is Anne Frank.
Up until a year ago, everyone was in love with me.
Everyone?
It was all so wonderful. Then everything changed.
We're leaving.
They told everyone we were to blame for all the world's problems.
This secret apartment is going to be our hiding place.
And I believe it was your own family history, in part, which persuaded you to get on board with this film, which you weren't so sure about in the beginning.
I didn't want to do the film. They offered me, and I said no, not Holocaust. I had enough, and I don't want to do it. And then they said they did the research, they knew everything about me. It was frightening. And no, I'm joking. But they said, okay, you read the diary again, you go back home, you see what happens. I read it, I found it as a father of 3 teenagers, incredible, unbelievable that a girl at the age of 13 wrote it. This is sensational. You don't see it, by the way, as a teenager. And then my mother, who is a Holocaust survivor, told me, and she's very Polish Jew, the cliche of the thing. And she said, look, we never interfere in what you're doing, so do whatever you want, but if you don't take it, I will die this afternoon. And you can come tomorrow and take my body. It will be neat and clean and bury me and everything will be fine. But it's your decision, it's up to you. I said, okay, thank you. And she said, I will live, if you take it, I will live till the premiere. So she was 90 back then. I said, okay, I'm gaining here. I thought it was 4 years. I didn't know it will be 8 years. But she's still with us.
A very wise woman.
Yeah.
When you write, who do you actually write to?
To myself, of course.
I prefer to think of my diary as a girl, a best friend. Her name will be Kitty.
Kitty.
I like it.
Come down, Anne. I'm waiting for you.
Is he a boy from class? Of course.
Who are you talking to, Anne?
Now, the voice of Anne in your film is very evocative, really communicates her personality.
Fantastic.
I wondered how you went about the casting process and what were you looking for in that actress?
I think I saw, I don't know how many girls, but I thought I need to make a big difference between the girls. Emily, Carrie, who's playing the voice of Anne, should be warm in her voice colors, very super emotional, which she is. And Kitty should be her alter ego. She should be everything that Emily is not. She should be more provocative, you know. She should have guts, courage, and this is Ruby Stokes. I think both of them, by the way, will have great future as actresses, not just voices. They're already starring in major roles in Netflix series, so I think I made a good decision.
The way you built the film, it evokes the 1940s and also the modern day. And I wondered, what were the contemporary issues that you wanted most to engage with?
Look, I'll be honest with you, the refugees crisis was not in the original script. I had something completely different in the last act. But when this started, it was 2015, 2016, I rewrote the entire last act and I put it in. Obviously, we had so much trouble raising the money, so I had the time.
Finally, Anne Frank had a tragic story, but she's a truly inspirational figure from history. What do you think her greatest legacy should be for young people today?
I think that emotionally, what she did emotionally, when you read the original diary, about what it means to grow up, your adolescence in captivity, is no one could have wrote it better than her. I think also the power of this story, that it has no violence in it, and it has no cruelty in it, and this is why it succeeded. You know, there were more than 2,000 diaries written in the Netherlands during World War II. I don't know if it's the best one, no one knows. But this is the one because of the persistence of her father, because of reasons I can discuss now for 3 hours straight. But this one worked because it talks about humanity, it talks about relationship, it talks about relationship between daughters and mothers that exist everywhere on the planet, you know, all the time. I see it at home. It does not change. And she did it so well, you know.
This young lady here named Kitty is looking for Anne Frank.
Have you seen her?
Anne did not write this diary so that you could worship her. What is important...
Get in the truck.
Do everything you can to save one single soul from harm. Just one soul.
What do you see, Peter?
I see the Allied forces. They're coming to liberate us. And you?
I see angels, Peter.
Next, his photographs have long been applauded for their atmospheric charge, creating compelling moods in black and white. Michael Kenna's use of light and shadow is deployed to devastating effect in this latest collection of images, which have all been taken on the sites of former Nazi camps. Those haunting and thought-provoking pictures are on show at the National Resistance Museum to the east of Paris. Thibault Jean-Pierre has this report.
Michael Kenna's photographs recount the horror of the Holocaust. They were taken over a period of 15 years at several Nazi concentration camps. Light emerges from shadow in black and white prints that convey a sense of bleakness and despair.
For me, the crematorium ovens here, I've purposely selected a very, very limited depth of field so that, at least for me, it feels like you're just being sucked into these ovens. And it just goes on forever. It's into this complete darkness, black. It's kind of it's some ways how I felt about being in the camp sometimes, that it was, that you're just going to be sucked away, no longer existing.
Kenna became interested in the subject when he was a student at the London College of Printing. He began the project several years later, in 1986, during a visit to the Natzweiler Struthof camp in eastern France. He donated 301 negatives and prints to France in the year 2000. His collection is a record of events, not a commercial venture.
I've often been asked, well, Michael Kenna, you're not Jewish, You don't have any brothers, sisters, relatives involved in this Holocaust. So why do you photograph? And for me, it says, well, yes, but I'm human, yes. So I'm part of the memory. I am part of the whole picture. And for me, in some ways, perhaps it was even easier because I wasn't so integrally connected that I could be a little bit more objective almost, not so subjective.
82 prints are on show till the 15th of April next year at the French Resistance Museum near Paris. The exhibition is called Light from Shadow, Photographs of the Nazi Camps.
Finally, to a film which reveals two unassuming French teachers to be resistance heroes and shows how they were responsible for saving the lives of hundreds of children. The documentary is entitled Pangua Eguiland, a reference to the nicknames of the couple running a children's home outside of Paris during the Second World War. There, they defied the authorities and hid children who were at risk of being deported. The filmmaker's mother was one of those young boarders. We'll leave you with a clip of that very moving feature. Otherwise, do check out our website and our social media feeds for more arts and culture. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.
C'est l'histoire d'un couple de résistants qu'on a accusé d'être des collabos. C'est l'histoire de gens intègres, dans une époque qui ne l'était pas.
Ils ont des cas sociaux, ils ont des orphelins de guerre, et ils vont y joindre des enfants juifs qui vont planquer.
Maréchal, nous voilà.
Maréchal. Vite, on leur avait pas appris.